Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 18 of Landscape North. Today we have the pleasure of having Cindi Rowan from Forrec on the show. Cindi, before we get started with the questions, maybe you can just give the audience a brief introduction to yourself and what you do at Forrec.
For sure. I graduated with a master's degree in landscape architecture from the University of Colorado, and operated my own company for about 10 years, and also worked with other companies on the design of a really wide array of public places, parks, streetscapes, downtown revitalization, and then moved to Canada during the recession.
Oh, wow.
Actually, yeah, I had an opportunity to work on a master plan for Parliament Hill, which was something I just couldn't pass up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Especially since landscape architects and designers in the US were really not very busy for those years. So things were much better in Canada. And, you know, one thing led to another, and I ended up working for several firms here doing really interesting, wide array of projects. Currently, I'm the director of the Landscape Architecture and Master Planning Studio at Forrec. We have a team of about 30 people, 30 landscape architects and urban designers, and we work really hand in hand with our architects and interior designers and our creative studio on projects around the world. You know, Forrec is a fairly large multidisciplinary design firm, and we have a focus on creating really transformative places and immersive experiences that bring people together. And our portfolio of work really ranges from one aspect that we're very well known for, which is entertainment destinations and visual attractions. Also cultural destinations such as museums and heritage sites, and a full range of landscape architecture and master planning, urban design and architectural projects, both around the world and here at home in the GTA.
Nice. So I guess that leads really well into our first question. How do you see the role of landscape architect has changed over the years, and how it relates to the overall building design? And where do you see that role evolving in the future?
You know, that's a really interesting question, Chris, and it's actually one that's very close to my heart as a designer. And, you know, it's in most of the 20th century, and I think even before that, there was a real divide between the outdoor environment and the architectural environment. You know, I think architects have tended to really focus on creating magnificent building form and interior spaces, and landscape architects have focused on the public realm and, you know, nary the twain shall meet. You know, they kind of meet at this building skin. And, you know, I think today we're seeing a much more holistic approach, particularly in multidisciplinary firms such as Forrec, but also multidisciplinary teams, where architects and landscape architects, urban designers, master planners, creative professionals really work together collaboratively on projects with a very seamless approach across all of the inhabited realm, both outside and inside. And this is really important for a number of reasons. I think one is that, you know, the design of the built form is really essential to creating those vibrant and thriving urban environments that we all strive for, that promote gathering and social inclusion and accessibility, healthy local economies. And, you know, what we've realized over the years of designing, you know, streetscapes and plazas and doing downtown revitalization plans is that, you know, the private realm is actually a really important aspect of both of those environments. So, you know, particularly in urban environments, I think people have a tendency to focus on building height. You know, when we hear about a tall building going in, people panic. But really, if we think about it, you know, the most important aspect of the building, you know, I strongly believe this is really the first 3 floors. You know, I tend to call this main floor magic because, you know, buildings with a really welcoming and articulated main floor with well-designed storefronts and patio spaces and front porches really have a way of supporting, you know, thriving businesses and creating places where people really want to come and gather.
Right.
And, you know, I think, you know, Toronto's patio culture is a great example of this. You know, when we see people gathering together, having a great time, we want to go there and have a great time too. And it just, you know, creates a great synergy. You know, we know that when people are walking in a pedestrian environment, they really need to have some kind of activity or focus of interest every 4 to 6 seconds. This is something that we've learned through research. And so, if buildings kind of present a blank wall, then people don't have the opportunity to do this. And, however, when buildings create what I call buildings and streetscapes and public environments create what I call the 3Ds, this density of destinations and density and diversity of destinations. It creates these really magical environments where everything comes together in a beautiful way. And this is also, we know that this is also something that's really important to health and well-being, because, when people inhabit these kinds of environments, it's easy for them to walk to places as opposed to, places that present even big expanses of glass. We love our exterior glazing, but if there's not something to do, people tend not to want to walk in those environments. So, this is a really great way where all of our professions can come together to really create amazing urban places. And, I think that needs to completely go across the inhabited realm from the outside to the inside.
Sure.
And I think one of the other questions you were asking, how this is going to evolve in the future.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
And, I think that question may have been different a few months ago. I really,
yeah, I agree.
I really feel that many of the issue of recent, the recent events, COVID-19 has led us to ask really challenging questions about how we can keep people safe in, outdoor and indoor environments while still supporting that kind of human interaction that we all thrive on. We see people suddenly focusing more on active transportation, on walking, and a need for cities, are really rising to that challenge of realizing that they need to create more space in the public realm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, we have to think about maybe, what does that mean? It might mean less space for cars. It might mean we think about public transportation in a different way. In our work at Forrec, we're really thinking about visitor attractions and entertainment destinations in a different way, because these are places where people have historically come together in very large crowds to have very immersive experiences. And we want people to still be able to do that while being safe.
Sure.
And I think that another very interesting aspect that has always been a very important part of what we do as designers and what we do as city builders, but that's really come to the forefront right now, is the issue of social equality and inclusion. We know that the design of cities and public spaces may not have always throughout the decades had that focus the way that it does now, and the way I see it even becoming more so in the future. And in some cases that's created segregation and inequality, even unintentionally, just by doing things the same old way. So I think that, as landscape architects and designers, we really have a lot of power and also a great deal of responsibility to do better and to promote equality and inclusion and accessibility in all of our designs. And, I think to do that, we look more and more to the diversity within our firms and also outside our firms, at experts and people from all different backgrounds who can work with us to really achieve those goals and ensure that we're meeting the needs of communities and people from all walks of life.
Right. And then, obviously this is an issue that's been around for a while now, but how have you seen your designs change and be affected by climate change?
I think climate change has really, it's really raised the bar for our thinking about sustainability and adaptivity and resilience in design. I think landscape architects have always had a very environmental focus. But, in looking at climate change, we realized that, this really needs to exist across the full spectrum of everything that we do. And, at Forrec, we've taken a very comprehensive approach to sustainability that also focuses on social issues, on cultural issues, economic issues, health and well-being, as well as the environment and carbon footprint and energy and climate change. And we really strive to integrate that sustainable approach into all of our projects, which can be a challenge with some of the types of work that we do. More people don't always think of sustainability when it comes to theme parks, and
Right.
and while that conversation can be much more easily had, I think with some of our clients in the development community or in municipalities and for parks and public spaces, where that's really been much more a traditional focus. But it's a goal of ours to make sure that it really works across the board and for all of our projects. Um, we've always worked on many projects that are certified, that meet different sustainability mandates around the world and that meet the Toronto Green Standard. And so we do a
Right.
lot of projects here at home. But we're also looking to think beyond that to some of the issues of carbon neutrality, and the idea of embodied energy and embodied carbon, which can really change the way we think about materials and how we build and building processes and how we get materials to the site.
Sure.
It requires really collaborating with our builders as well to reach those goals. So I think something that one of the ways that we really look at climate change is with the understanding that natural systems are really powerful in creating sustainable design, and our goal is to really integrate those natural systems into the built environment, whether it's low impact development, creating pollinator and wildlife habitat, green infrastructure, and we've really made it a corporate priority,
Right.
again, to focus on these issues as much as we can.
Great. So you've been in the industry for a couple of years. Where do you get the inspiration for new designs for your projects?
Oh, what a fun question. I get inspiration from many different places, and it changes as I grow as a designer and within the profession, and I'm constantly being exposed to new ideas and new people and new thinking, and that's all very inspiring. Closer to home, Forrec's defining purpose as a firm is creating transformational experiences that connect all. And, this is really about a commitment to creativity and art and ingenuity and imagination and collaboration. And these are really inspiring ideas.
Absolutely.
And, one of the ways that we do that and that we bring that to life is by beginning our projects with a kind of a collaborative brainstorming approach that really focuses on those ideas and how to realize them and bring them to life in our designs. And in these sessions we include teams with a really diverse array of backgrounds coming from different disciplines, different years of experience, for people who are very new to the profession to seasoned professionals. And I think that it kind of makes us challenges us to really stay relevant
Right.
in
Oh, yeah.
in our designs. And we might have multimedia experts at the table, or artists, or people who excel in augmented reality, virtual reality. So really challenging ourselves to think outside the box. And I think it's just a great way to kick off a project in an
Yeah,
exciting, kind of an exciting way. Another source of inspiration is, especially today, that's easily accessible, is to just really stay informed with, the kinds of issues and thought leadership that's on the leading edge of global design. Social media platforms are great for this, whether it's, different organizations that we might follow, or, books or magazines, even Pinterest and Instagram.
yeah.
Um, to make sure that we're not reinventing the wheel, that we're really staying in touch with all the great thinking that's happening
Right.
kind of across the globe. And kind of, maintains our knowledge base and makes sure that our ideas are relevant. And I really challenge all of the designers on my team to stay abreast of these ideas and bring them back and share them with the firm. And it just creates a great, exciting conversation. Um, when I start a project, one of the things that I like to look at as a designer is, what are the really best examples in the world of that
Oh,
type of
okay.
design, to make sure that, it's really keeping that bar high and challenging ourselves
Sure.
to really succeed. Um, and I guess, to kind of last but not least, one of the really most essential places that I've always found inspiration as a designer is really in the site itself, in the place
Okay.
that we're working. I grew up very indoctrinated with this idea of places and natural elements as kind of living things with an embodied spirit and an ability to care for us and communicate with us as people. And I really like to spend time in a place and kind of understand who it is as opposed to just what it is.
Right.
And, thinking of, what that place has been over the years and what it might like to become. I really look at what we do as designers as having the ability to bring healing to places. And I think that when we create happy and healthy places, um, that are able to really realize and express that spirit and identity, that we experience that when we spend time in those places, even
Right.
if, as human beings, we don't fully realize it. I think the idea of genes, loci, and spirit of place that we were all taught in school, I think it's really a part of that. And, a great example of that is the peaceful feeling that many of us have when we're in natural places, or just that sense of wonder and joy that we have in, really wonderful urban places that kind of captivate our imagination and give us this feeling of belonging and
That's awesome. Thanks very much.
well-being.
Okay, so what advice would you give someone who's looking at landscape architecture as a career option?
Oh, I think that, I guess first and foremost, I think landscape architecture is a really great career. You got to be prepared to work hard and put in long hours, all of us do. But I think part of that is because, we really love what we do, and, it's fun, and we get to do everything from, really technical work to coloring with markers. It just doesn't get better than that. And I think that we get to really make a difference in the world as landscape architects and urban designers, and, that's really very fulfilling and meaningful. And I think, most designers that I talk about are really fortunate to be in that position and have that opportunity. Um, I think that landscape architecture is a very broad and diverse profession, and I would encourage people who are considering it, to really look at the full range of work that landscape architects do, and and discover those areas that really work with your talents and your interests and your abilities, because that's how you can really thrive in the profession. And I think there's so much choice.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely, yeah.
And, another thing that I think is really important is that, we work across this really wide range of media and design styles. We here at Forrec, we do a lot of hand drawing and sketching. It's a huge part of what we do. And, I think it's a great way to really connect ourselves with the design process
Yeah.
and have that kind of organic experience, creating form and shape and composition. But at the same time, we're sometimes delivering projects that really start and end in 3D and are
Yeah.
BIM
Okay.
enabled, and we're presenting to clients using, AR and VR. So really in a fully technological realm. And, I think it's important, for people who are new to the profession or who are in school, um, to really focus on developing that full range of skills. Um, and I guess, once again, I would just like to focus on the fact that, landscape architects do have this great responsibility to bring that inclusivity and equality and diversity, accessibility to our work. And in order to do that, we need to have designers on our teams from, very diverse backgrounds to,
Sure.
work with communities and clients and, I really would like to encourage, everyone to consider, this type of career, even if, maybe it's not the first thing that you think about. I think there are great opportunities that can be really
Awesome. So the last question as we wrap things up, because I want to be conscious of your time as well, is what question would you like to get some feedback from the Landscape North podcast audience from? Any questions that you would like to get some comments and feedback on?
Oh, absolutely. Um, I think as we spoke about a little while ago, we're really at this time of great transformation in our society, even just within the last few months. And I would really love to hear the audience's thoughts on, how they would like to see the landscape architecture profession address these global issues that
Okay.
are really at the forefront of everyone's mind right now. If we all come together and share in that creative process and think about these ideas, we're going to come up with solutions that can can make sure that everything that we're going through right now has a positive outcome.
Right. Perfect. Well, thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate this. Again, this will be uploaded onto my Landscape North YouTube channel and then also up onto LinkedIn later on this evening. Thanks very much for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Chris. It was really nice to be with you. Appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Appreciate it very much.